Well, boys and girls, welcome back. Now, what you're looking at is images of Cabot goats on a Cromer hillside, brackets, sheep, close brackets. What have they got to do with our story? Well, you'll see very soon, but basically, the noise a sheep makes is very similar to the noise a goat makes. Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I love Norfolk so. So, if you're new to this channel, I really do recommend that you go back to number 1 and then follow the series through, because that'll make a lot more sense to you. The algorithm throws my videos out randomly to people, and some of it might not make any sense. Basically, if you can't be asked to go back to number 1, then what we're doing is we're going around, walking around the Norfolk countryside and looking at the beauty of it. The beauty of the Norfolk countryside. But at the same time, we're going to tell a few jokes, have a bit of a laugh, and of course the rant. There is always going to be a rant about the stupidity of local authorities and people in general. I'm using a cheap old camera that I found litter picking, and a selfie stick cost £8.99 on Amazon, so I made one. Along the way, I've been teaching viewers Cockney dialect, and I've been teaching viewers Norfolk dialect, because I'm 75 years old and I've lived in Norfolk for 50 years and in East London for 25. That's the basis of these videos. So I'll do the rant first, which is about Cromer Town Council, and then when I've done that, we'll continue on with the education, because in the first part of this particular walk, we were talking about education over the last 75 years. So in that wonderful newspaper, the Eastern Daily Press, or EDP for short, Cromer Town Council decided to have a meeting, and they decided, wait for it, to increase the amount of money they get from taxes by 50%. Yes, 50%. Now, this was a public attended meeting, and these people are unelected. Apart from 2 members of the town council, these people are unelected. So what do? They up their revenue by 50%. Now, that basically means that every household in the Cromer area will have to pay an extra 50 quid a year. The 2 elected members of the council actually voted against this proposal. But what happened next is what this video is about. The members of the public started making sheep noises. Now, I would assume that means similar to goat noises, wouldn't you? But why? Why do people start making sheep noises? You'd need to explain this one to me. I'd have thought it would have been better to make pig noises, you know, snouts in the trough and all that. Now, this is Cromer Town Council, which is very similar to Hopton Parish Council, except that it's bigger. Oh man, is it me? I still can't see what it's got to do with sheep. Now, our parish council, they all meet in a small room at the back of the village hall. And they have a clerk who looks after paying the bills and this sort of thing. Cromer Town Council, on the other hand, do not meet in a small room of the church hall or similar. No. Guess where they've got their offices? Yeah, pigs with their snouts in the trough would have been more appropriate, I think. But if the people of Cromer wanted to get rid of these arseholes, all they've got to do is put forward a vote of no confidence, not make silly sheep noises. So the Wroxham Women's Institute decide to go on a day out, and they decide to go to London, which they duly do. And they end up in Soho, and finally end up in one of those sex shops in Soho. And one 80-year-old, she's looking through the snuff in there, and she says, "Look at this, crotchless knickers." And she says, "I'm going to buy a pair of them, see if I can stir some life into the old man." So she buys them, and then the next night, at bedtime, she pulls on these knickers without a crotch, and then shows it to the old man. Says, "Fancy some of this?" And he went, "No, God no." He said, "Look what it's done to your knickers." Right then, boys and girls, back to education. Now you remember in the first part of this walk I was dumped on by a headmaster of a local school with a young tearaway called Jack. Now when all this happened, I was actually servicing a coach engine when the headmaster dropped this kid on me. So I told him to go and sit on a seat and read a book or something and let me get on with what I was doing. But no, he had his head over my shoulder, and guess what he said? He said, "That's a Bedford 330, that is." I said to him, "Do you know engines?" He said, "Oh yeah," he said, "I work with my dad. My dad's got his own business." It took me about 4 seconds to realise that of course this kid was disinterested in education. He was going to go and work with his father. He had a career all mapped out for him. This brings up the subject of assessment. When a kid starts school, they need to be assessed. Jack only had a few months left of his formal education, and in that time, me and that kid, we worked on the buses together. I let him have the tools and I watched what he did. He must have told his dad, because his dad came to see me, and he said to me the kid had never been happier. And I said, right, okay, and between us we got down together and we got the kid an engineering apprenticeship in Norwich. Now to my knowledge, intake assessment is not carried out in British schools. It should be, and I understand that the teachers have to follow a strict curriculum and all the time constraints, but surely there should be some training given to try and identify a particular youngster's needs. Now let me tell you, there are only 2 types of teacher. Across the board, just 2 types of teacher. The first type is the ones that never left school. They went from school to university to teacher training college and then back to school. And the second type is those that went into industry first. They got a job or travelled the world or whatever, and then they entered the teaching profession when they returned. Guess which is the better teacher? Hey Davey, I think I better get my boy a better education, don't you? Now here's another little story for you. I'm driving down a country lane with the coach full of kids, and standing at the side of the lane is a tiny little girl in her brand new crisp pleated uniform. Standing beside her is her father. And when I pulled to pick her up, because this is her first day of school, her father says to me, "She's absolutely terrified, driver, can you look after her?" I said, "Sure." And that was it. I brought her in, sat her beside me on the seat, and I said, "You keep looking at me, sweetheart, and we'll have a good time." By the time I took her home on that first day of school, her uniform was all over the place, her tie was all askew, her hair was all ruffled up, shoes all scuffed, and she was laughing, non-stop laughing. About 10 years later, I'm walking through Fakenham town centre with my latest bird on my arm, when this beautiful young woman, very tall, runs up to me, puts her arms round my neck and says, "Hello Davey, great to see you again." The bird on my arm said, "Do you want to tell me about this?" Of course, that bright little girl at the side of the lane had grown up. I didn't recognise her. She'd turned into an astonishing young woman. "And do you remember Jack?" Well, that little bastard did the same thing to me in a petrol station on the A47, except that he'd grown into a huge guy, big hairy bastard. To this day I'm grateful I didn't have a bird on my arm when Jack picked me up in the petrol station. That might have taken a bit more explaining to the bird. When I walk locally in the mornings, I sometimes bump into an elderly lady walking her dog. She's about 80. She made the mistake once of telling me that she was a retired teacher. So now, every morning when I see her, I say, "Morning, miss," and she hates it. Now, just like Jack, I left school without any qualifications. I was completely disinterested in the school life. It had nothing for me whatsoever. It did not attempt to teach me anything that I was interested to learn. So it came as a surprise that many years later, I actually applied for a job as a lecturer in road transport at a Norwich college. An even bigger surprise was that I got the job. But the people in charge said I have to have a professional qualification in teaching to carry out this job. So that was it. I studied for and got a teacher's qualification so that I could carry on working. One day, one of the senior management came to see me and he said they got a problem. They had a satellite station, a satellite outpost in King's Lynn, and one of the tutors there had gone sick. Could I drive out there and take the class for the rest of the day until they could get a replacement? So I said, yeah, but what am I supposed to teach them? They said, oh, don't worry about it, just sit with them for the day. Now guess what? When I got there to King's Lynn and I found this class, guess what it was? There were 14, 17-year-old girls. Oh dear, oh dear. So a lot of you will be thinking this is pure fantasy, but I swear to you this actually happened. A bait magnet walked into a class of highly sexually charged 17-year-olds. Oh dear. So after the initial shock, I asked them what they were supposed to be learning within this class, and they went on to explain it was a subject called life skills, social and life skills. I'd never heard of it before, but at the end of the day, I got a book out from a library. In a nutshell, social and life skill is about accelerating adulthood. It ranges from teaching someone to tie their own shoelaces to entering the world of banking. It is a vast subject and one that interested me immediately. At the end of that first day, I got a phone call from management in Norwich to say they hadn't found a replacement tutor, so could I take over this class? And I said, yeah, I'm game if you are. So there we are, launched into yet another career change, that of a social and life skills instructor. You're not really a teacher, you're more a facilitator of learning, accelerating adulthood by putting youngsters into the company of people who do actually educate. It was a great career and it lasted for about another 6 years of my life. I had to take another qualification of course, but that was becoming easy to me now. And before you think it, no, I did not shag one of them, none of them, over all those years. Far more professional than that. But did I have opportunity? Oh my God, did I? I certainly wasn't going to let some sex scandal ruin my career. And don't forget, I didn't have any trouble at all attracting women. I had even one of the senior managers of that college come on to me quite strongly on one occasion. So no, I wasn't going to risk anything for a shag. These women, these young women, they can catch you in all sorts of compromising situations if you're not careful. I had to really make sure I wasn't caught alone in a stationery cupboard or similar. Fortunately, I lived over 30 miles away from the college and drove to work on a daily basis. But still on one occasion, I found one of them sitting on my doorstep professing undying love. Young male teachers across the country suffer this problem with infatuation, and they actually get training on how to deal with it when they go to training college. I had no such training, and I had to develop my own techniques to protect myself against the problem. Now, I never had any children, nor did I ever want any, but if I was a parent today, I think I would take a bit more of a serious interest in what type of the two types of teacher was educating my child. I think that would be wise. So there we are, boys and girls. This is the second part of the walk that I've done talking about education. There's a lot more material left, so I'll do a part C, I think. But I hope you've enjoyed the winter sunshine and the lovely walk along the railway, and I'll see you on the next one. So, I get an awful lot of things just walking up and down. See ya.